Hi, it's Anna from astralladytarot in Amsterdam. Today I'm doing a VR to Patsy's Mystical Musings. She made a hashtag Hugdecks. And I think in these slightly crazy times, why not? So I went through my collection of tarot decks, and I have a few that I believe are hug decks, or at least make me feel comforted, make me feel good, make me feel, I don't know, different. They all have their own reason for being in this list. I'm going to simply show you the decks that I have. First deck that came to mind is in this little box, which is a recycled iPhone 4 box, by the way, is the Tarot of the Magical Forest. These are the backs. I've trimmed my copy and edged it in silver. And this is, I consider, a hug deck, not because there aren't any darker looking cards or negative cards. I don't believe I have a deck that really does that. The colors are soft, the feel of the cards even are particularly smooth, and the edges, especially after I trimmed them. It's very cute. They're all animals in this deck, and they're all very cute, wide-eyed animals. I really like this Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, I mean, this card in a spread, it does look dark. You can really see the dark colors and the dark vibe. There is a certain nostalgia, kind of a sadness thing going on. Even in the cards that are brightly colored, there is a kind of a depth, kind of like a darkness there. But they're all animals, and the sweet cards are so sweet. Can you see these teeny tiny figures falling from the tower? And I particularly love this card. I don't think tarot should be cute, kind of thing, if you know what I mean, but we are allowed to have hug decks. And this is my most extreme form of that, I believe. Next I have my Inner Child deck. Tarot of a Moon Garden. These are the backs. This is the 90s version. I think there is a difference in cardstock. This is like this waxy feel. Feels amazing. And I really love this simply because if I had a chance to get a tarot deck as a child, a young child, I would have picked this one, because I was all about the blues and the purples and the moon. Minors are a bit pippish, but I do read pips, and I still think that this is not actually a pip deck. It's actually Rider-Waite-Smith based. It's very much fairy tale. It brings you into that other world. The idea of this deck, I believe, is that it's set on the moon. It's actually like a moonscape, I believe. I read that somewhere. I don't use it very often, again, but it is a part of me. It does feel right to have this deck in my collection. Absolutely 90s goodness. I can't really explain, apart from that, why this is a hug deck. It just connects me to my inner child, I guess. I do love it and appreciate it. And I also want to check this, the World card. Does everyone else see a face here in her wing? This is the box. Way too pretty to be hidden there underneath the cards, but yeah, that's what I did. So next I am using the top of this case on my tarot table, but this is the case I made I altered for my Wildwood. And I finally, after having it for a long time, edged it. Initially I edged it in like 7 different colors, and it was way too busy and not coherent enough. So in the end I just made dark green and dark brown, and it turned out like this much. It suits the deck better, I think. So I really, really love this deck. It was actually in my top 5 of 2019. I think my top 5 has changed, but I don't know. I just look at this Ace of Cups, the waters of life. It's absolutely nature-based. The court cards are animals, and there are humans in this deck, as you can see. The Archer for the Chariot, beautiful. It actually follows the Wheel of the Year rather than any other system. I just read with this deck for myself. Oh, 6 of Cups. I love the way that the light is made into this artwork. I know the artwork is partly digitalized, but what I want to show you here is, for instance, Arcanum number 13, Death, is called The Journey. The world is a tree. Always great. Then we have this beautiful card. And here, for instance, the 10 of Bows, it says here, but it's the 10 of Wands. It says keyword responsibility. So there are keywords on this deck. I don't mind them. Okay, here. 10 of Arrows, which is supposed to be 10 of Swords, is different. Yeah, it brings a whole other idea of the meaning of the card. This deck brings me into the Wildwood. Brings me in that forest, brings me in the other world, and I feel that I'm very much closed off and safe. Makes me feel safe. So in a way it's a typical hug deck, if you will, looking at they did change some harsher meanings of the cards and made them slightly more soothing in a way, but at the same time it's also just a hug deck because it makes me feel good and safe. The Halloween Tarot, I've edged, actually colored the borders front and back in black. I do use this one in September, October, November. I consider this a hug deck just because of, well, the artwork and the whole idea. It's not very serious, you know? But here, you can see it's the 8 of Swords, and it's a Rider-Waite-Smith clone. 8 of Swords became 8 of Bats. And I really like that. The whole thing where the swords are no longer inanimate objects, which of course they aren't, because they are your thoughts. They are the way that you communicate. They are, you know what I mean, those types of things. But now they are actually made into living beings. They are bats. You may think, ugh, I don't want those bats around. They may get into my hair, or actually they're already in your head. But at the same time, they're bats. And they're cute. And it's Halloween, and you're supposed to have a kind of a trick or treat thing going on. 10 of Bats. It's all fun and games, I would say, this deck. So I do get serious messages from all of these tarot decks. They are brought to me, the reader, in a very gentle and fun way. I love, especially now that I've edged, I pretty much immediately did that, colored in the borders of every card. It's very dark in its color scheme because it, of course, all happens at night, and it's like Halloween nights. And there's that electricity in the air, and there's stuff going on. And I mean, I didn't grow up celebrating Halloween. I grew up in Holland, and I'm still living here. And Halloween did come to us, like, in the last 10 years, I'd say. But before that, really, we didn't celebrate it at all. And so for a long time, the only thing that I had to celebrate Samhain was my own imagination or something. Now there are parties, we can go out and we can have fun, and at the same time celebrate that the veil is thin. Okay, so here, for instance, the fact that the cups now are ghosts. You are visited by these ghosts, and he's smiling. It makes you feel like you're not alone, because the guy usually in the Rider-Waite-Smith is alone. After all, it's a 9 coming from the Hermit. That is kind of part of the shadow side I see in this card. And it still stands, but now it kind of like reinforces the meaning of who are you doing it for? These are your loved ones, you could easily say. And of course, there's a cute black cat in every card. You kind of join his journey through the cards. That was the Halloween Tarot. I have the biggest mug. We're all having a stay-at-home weekend, me and my friends and family. Wanted to go out for a few drinks yesterday, but then decided that we really shouldn't. It's not advised to do so. I also think the dance schools are closing until March 31st. Maybe spend some extra time with my Hugdecks is a good idea. Okay, I could easily say I'm done. These are my Hugdecks. These are my kitty decks, which I also said a while ago. I mean, not the Wildwood. I don't see it as a kitty deck, but the 3 other ones definitely. But now I'm switching over to one of my favorite decks. I've definitely called this one my soul deck. Simply my Centennial Rider-Waite-Smith. So it's definitely not a hug deck, but at the same time, it's just me. The way that I have it in this box, and I have this incense in there, which I'm not burning anymore. Sandalwood, I've had this for like longer than half my life. The cards are well used and well loved, and they smell so good. They smell like the sandalwood incense. There's something about that smell. I used to have it in my room as a child before everything changed. And yes, there's that nostalgia, and we all know, hopefully we all know, because it's so important, that smell and perfume and, well, the sense of smell means memories. It's a very big, important instinct, intrinsic part of your memories. And I have that with this deck. I mean, I don't have to show you, you all know the cards. It's a very well-balanced deck, definitely not a hug deck. But just because of these things that I've done for this deck, with this deck, to this deck, make it so that it is a hug deck. I guess I'm saying the connection to this deck is what makes it kind of a part of this group. Then I'm cheating again a little bit, because I also have this one, which is, if you don't have the same crazy deep connection to the Rider-Waite-Smith artwork and the Centennial Deck as I do, there's also this one. And I'm sorry, this one is out of print and vintage and all that stuff. Looks like the 70s, but actually it's 90s. But this is kind of like a softer version of the Rider-Waite-Smith. And I guess the softness of this deck simply makes it kinder, and also the different coloration, so beautiful. You get a lot of sunset kind of cards. It does, I'm speaking from experience here, it does speak to your intuition a little more. It does allow you to get some slightly different meanings from the cards, and I don't know, it kind of does spark my intuition more when I see these different colors. It's the same deck. It's the absolute same deck as the Centennial, just with, as you can see, less details. For instance, in the Nine of Pentacles, I think there's no snail. Oh, of course it's the last card. Oh, have you seen this one? Cool, right? Nine of Pentacles, no snail. A beautiful pink in the background. So I'm not really about pink, but in this deck there's a lot of pink. And I love it. It suits it perfectly. A softer Rider-Waite Smith. I'm sure that you can still find this deck somewhere, or maybe in a trade. I see them in Facebook tarot trade groups regularly. It's nice. What I was saying about intuition, it sparks my intuition in a different way, because it is almost the same as the Centennial, which I'm so used to seeing when I work with this deck. It's telling me, look at this black sky, look at the purple circle around the moon, look at this queen, there's a different coloration in the sky, and then here again with the pink. It's nice. I etched this one in gold. Last deck. Trionfi, Della, Paradoxical. It's my favorite. We all know it by now. Stop talking about it already. No. Definitely not a hug deck, but still, it's supposed to be in this list, okay? I've edged mine in this blue, which I love because it's rubbing off on the corners, as you can see, and this kind of strange violet indigo color is coming through, and that comes from the core of the cards, which I've noticed, I've seen, because one of the cards is a little bit damaged. The core of these cards is blue in color. Look, this is not a hug deck, okay? I've said it, but it is in a way to me, because this deck is full of monsters, creatures, strange things, underworld type things. That's how I've kind of like made this world. And this is my world. I am one of those creatures, I'm one of those monsters, and I'm very much welcomed into this world. Me as a whole, every single side of my personality, of my soul, is fully accepted into this world. There's no judgment here. I'm not saying that this deck, like, I don't know, when I read with this deck, I don't exactly know how to explain it, but this whole artwork, especially with it being so dark, the Paradoxical edition really does make that difference to me. I don't own the Trionfi della Luna regular version, I own this one. It makes me feel so welcomed. There's definitely that feel that every creature being in this world knows each other. And I'm one of them, like I said. They know me, and I know them, and we're all friends, and we all get along, and we all know the lights and the shadows, and there's simply a kind of understanding. Because the deck is so strange and so not for everyone, I feel that there's like more room for those types of things, that type of understanding, that type of energy, and maybe that does give it a kind of a hug deck feel. At the same time, it's just also very beautiful, and it's a Marseille, so in my opinion, it can hardly be a hug deck. I don't know. I don't feel I'm explaining myself very well, but I don't think I'll grow tired of showing this deck anytime soon. I think that because of that whole experience that I'm having with this deck, that this deck brings me, whatever message I get, it's delivered in a way that I understand where it's coming from. Kind of like that. Tarot decks that you really truly love, they become your friends, and it's not to sound sad, pitiful, lonely. Trust me, I have plenty of friends that I love. But yes, this is also one of them, and so is my Centennial, and they will always be the day and the night kind of energy. I think that's it for this video. I will leave the original video underneath this one, and let me know, what do you think? I think I've definitely made the whole term Hugdecks a little bit more wide, the whole idea of that. There is, I still believe, a nuance between an actual hug deck and the decks like I explained, my Trionfi, Della, Luna, my Centennial. But at the same time, I also don't have any hug decks because they all have a great balance between light and shadow, even though one is brought to you by cute little animals, or set on Halloween night, or in the woods, or with nice pastel colors, or on the moon. It doesn't matter. They're all still tarot decks, and I think that's also a big reason why I'm not so much into oracle decks. I feel oracle decks often miss that balance that tarot really does have. I'm going to stop here now. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe if you like this video. Apparently I'm supposed to remind you of that, so every so often I've decided to say that out loud, even though it sounds kind of silly still. But yeah, I'll see you the next time.